So, Glenn, there's this situation where people like to discuss the endings of movies without telling people, and then it's all safe. It's very healthy. It's safe, but a lot of people get upset about that, and it's courteous to warn people that there are spoilers before discussing the end of a film. And again, very safe, nothing to worry about. It's very healthy. This podcast contains spoilers for Light of My Life. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Megusto.
That's me, Miguel Megusto. I was about to say Mario, but that is not me. I'm not a Mario.
How dare you?
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
How dare I? How you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing my damnedest, as we all are. How are you, my sweet baby cherry?
I am also doing my damnedest. My film shoot is a month away, so I'm a little bit frantic about that, but I'm confident that should go well. I would feel a lot better about it if it wasn't 3 hours away from home.
True.
That adds a lot of
and
pressure.
Also in the middle of a pandemic, sadly.
In the middle of a pandemic, yeah. But yeah,
crossing fingers, end of a pandemic.
Yeah, or even if I knew the person who owned the location well.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But let's jump into it. What movies have you seen this week?
So I finished the show that I talked about last week called Berserk. It was actually a really, really well done series that is on HBO. It was only one season, and then they came out with some movies eventually. So I finished that season. This was all fully recommended to me by my viewers, so I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I watched the season and then watched the 3 movies that were on Netflix. All of them really, really well done. Obviously, the movies kind of condensed what the first season was.
This is a Berserk or something?
Yeah, this is called Berserk.
Okay.
And a lot of fans really despise some of them despise the movies because they don't articulate everything that was from the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were all very well done. They had some like 2 or 3 different animation styles within the movies, but it was all cool. So I finished that. I'll eventually get to season 2 because they released that in like 2006 or something. And moving on to actual movies. Sound of Metal.
Oh, yeah.
See, I love all the movies that I watched this week because I knew I was like, I'm going to put this on. And I know what Mike's going to say, so I'm just going to wait for it. And lo and behold, each time I posted a movie, you're like, oh, the cream of the crop is in my pants.
Oh,
dear God.
I think I called you a dirty slut. Like,
yeah,
you're getting me hard with
time.
these movies, you dirty slut.
You dirty slut. So I watched that. You talked about that, I think that was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. They did so well with just the audio alone. And then,
absolutely.
Easily my favorite Riz Ahmed performance so far. I've only seen a few, so I can't say it is his best. But
have you seen? I don't think this movie is his best, but I'm curious. Have you seen Four Lions?
I have not.
Okay. It's a movie about terrorists, but it's it's a comedy about terrorists.
Yeah.
But also has a gut-wrenching ending.
Yeah.
I won't say anything more than that.
Okay.
He's definitely better in Sound of Metal than he is in Four Lions, but Four Lions is really good, and I feel like it doesn't get enough credit because it is kind of genre-bending. Anyway, just wanted to bring up Four Lions.
So yeah, Sound of Metal was awesome. It was great. And then I watched a short film that is on Netflix called Canvas. I will get into that not right now. And then I watched a movie called I'm Thinking of Ending of Things. I'm Thinking of Ending of Things, which I knew would also get your rocks off there. So I actually watched this movie because, my cousin Steven.
Yeah.
He actually told me like 2 months ago that he watched this movie. I'm like, wait, you just watched that movie? He's like, yeah, it's really good. You should watch it. I'm like, well, if you and Mike watched that movie before I've watched that movie, what am I doing with my life? And
I
then,
mean, if it was just me, that'd be one thing.
yeah, but they're not really movie people
Yeah.
in the Steve household. So I was just like, wait, you watched that movie out of all movies? I was like, well, I got to get my shit together. So I finally watched that. That was incredible. I didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time, and then I kind of like started to evaluate it. And by evaluate, I mean looked up other people's answers on what the fuck was going on, and then it all sunk in. I'm like, Jesus, I'm dumb.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, it's not all just given to you. So
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the analysis are done by people who have read the book.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that you probably benefit more from if you've read the book, or if you've watched it multiple times.
I've
only
a
watched it
second
once.
watch is definitely granted.
Yeah, I have this ability, and it started with The Fountain, of knowing that I like something without fully understanding why.
Yeah.
Or what it's about, and that is definitely one of those movies where like I know for a fact I love it. I just kind of when I first watched it was like a deer in headlights. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was an excellent film, especially after catching up on what the hell was actually going on, and I'm just sitting there like, well, oh my god, that's so really well done. But I mean, that first try, my brain melted into small scoops of Oreo burr. But yeah, that was an amazing film. And the last one that I watched is one that I had watched a lot of parts of because obviously I worked at the movies. But I have never actually sat down and watched the whole thing. And that was Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers. It's got Adam Sandler in it. What an excellent movie. Like,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
that movie is like 2 hours of just anxiety.
Yeah, just straight chaos. going
Yeah,
on.
straight chaos. Adam Sandler is great in it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of his top tier roles that he's ever
But
played.
I don't think he should have won the Oscar, but he
Yeah.
definitely should have at least been nominated.
Oh,
his
100%.
dramatic roles are always a lot better. I think personally the only reason he wasn't nominated is his character is more or less, it's not a likable character, but it's
No.
not supposed to be likable.
Yeah. And I mean, that it's kind of a bummer that he didn't.
Yeah.
But besides that, it was an excellent movie. And that's really all I watched so far
Yeah.
besides our movie.
Well, I just got to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous just of the quality of films you're watching. Not that I'm not watching the quality of films,
Yeah.
but because I am striving to get that 366 for the year average of a movie a day. I am watching a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's not to say everything's shit. There's a lot of really good things in here, but it's
Some
just
gems in there, but there's not
I'm not
uncut
being
gems.
yeah.
You know?
Stop. I'm not as picky about the movies I'd be watching.
Yeah.
As I normally am. This week I started off by watching the live-action remake of Mulan.
Okay.
Because unlike an idiot who paid $30 for it, and they also had Disney Plus back in September, I read, hey, they're going to release it on Disney Plus for everyone December 4th.
Yep.
Why not just wait? And if, I die between now and then, I'm not really striving to see it anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. I did not die to see it. This movie is subpar at best.
Yeah.
I, after watching it, watched a 30-minute YouTube video of a Chinese American woman. I believe she's American. She's definitely Chinese. If she's not American, her English is impeccable. Like American accent, not like English accent like a lot of international people have. And she just tore it to shreds, talking about like how racist it is and everything, and just how it did an injustice to the Legend of Mulan, or the Ballad of Mulan, I believe is what it's technically called.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like after this, she said that this, while they were striving to be more honorable to the Chinese tradition that is Mulan, is somehow more racist than the cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a white guy, so I have no right talking about whether or not it's racist. But obviously, she made a lot of really compelling points, and it's really kind of funny, done in a very cynical way. And made a very good point that if you're trying to be respectful to the culture and everything, why hire a white woman to direct?
Yeah.
Like for this, she
They took a step in the woman category, but
Yeah.
still misstepped.
I don't remember if she said this, but I kind of got the feeling it probably would have been better if they hired like a Chinese man to direct it. Obviously, a Chinese woman would be preferable, but like the Chinese aspect is more important than the woman aspect of it, at least for Chinese culture. It's a very subpar movie. It's not compelling at all. There are some humorous points. Mainly, it's like the guys cuddling and everything.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, guys cuddling just reminds me of my friends and I. So it's always funny to me. Just like, oh yeah, that's me and my friends right there. Anyway, so yeah, it's okay. It's not okay. It's bad, but it's not terrible. Then I watched a movie called The Road to Wellville, which is about, I forget his first name. I think it's George or something. The guy who created cornflakes, Mr. Kellogg.
Yeah, you really are kind of scraping the barrel for these movies, aren't you?
This one is an early '90s movie with John Cusack, Anthony Hopkins, Bridget Fonda, Matthew Broderick, Dana Carvey. It's got a whole bunch of well-known people in it. It's pretty funny. The whole thing is about how insane Mr. Kellogg is. He had like this health spa where he would like force people to be abstinent and everything, and which is where the legend that cornflakes were created to prevent masturbation, which isn't true, but it was like based off his actual beliefs.
Let's say they're doing a terrible job for me.
But it's a very dark '90s comedy. It's I enjoyed it for it being like a scraping the bottom of a barrel thing. Speaking of scraping the bottom of the barrel, I watched a 80s cop drama called Alien Nation, in which James Caan is a police detective who has an alien partner. Sounds
familiar.
The thing is, it's not a comedy. It's just a sci-fi movie that is done very straightforward and serious.
Yeah.
Again, it's not terrible. It's not great. I'll never watch it again, just like the past 3 movies I talked about. There's a lot of movies I've watched this year that I will never watch again. But yeah, that was Alien Nation. Then I realized I had never seen The Santa Claus in full with Tim Allen. So I watched The Santa Claus. And then I said, hey.
Let's say I know what the lineup for this is, so it's kind of funny.
Hey, I watched The Santa Claus. Why don't I watch Santa Claus 2? So I watched Santa Claus 2. And I was like, you know what? There's only one more. And this one has Martin Short. So maybe I should watch Santa Claus 3. So I watched Santa Claus 3. And they, as expected, got progressively worse and worse. The Santa Claus is obviously the best one. People regard it as a classic. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is entertaining. And then, it just keeps getting worse and worse to where the third one only has a plot for the last 20 minutes and it's resolved very quickly.
Oh, no. It's the only one of the 3 that I have not seen.
Yeah, it's not good. But I mean, it's got Martin Short, so there you go. Then I watched Wolf Walkers, which is the newest feature film from Cartoon Saloon, who's done Breadwinner, Song of the Sea, Secret of the Kells. And it is just as good as I was expecting. It's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Combines beautiful artistry with Irish lore, wonderful music, great sequences, and a very inspiring, beautiful story. Can't recommend Wolfwalkers enough. If you want to get a Apple TV Plus trial and just watch that, like, fuck everything else on there. Just watch Wolfwalkers. Although Apple TV Plus does have some good stuff on there, but it is, lacking compared to other things just because they're still trying to get up and going, and didn't have a backed up catalog like Disney did.
That's true.
But yeah, that's Wolfwalkers. Then I watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I like martial arts movies, but I hate wire work.
Yeah.
So while I understand why people like this, the wire work completely ruined it for me, which I know this is what it's famous for. is, essentially them all flying, but it just made it laughable to me. I hate movies with immature teenagers who are in love, which is another plot in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I didn't hate the movie, but I definitely did not love it as much as a lot of people do. It's got beautiful performances from Michelle Yeoh, what's his name? Xiao Yun Fat and Zhang Ziyi, I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, it's just not for me. I don't like the cheesiness of the wires.
Yeah, this is one of those movies I actually have to rewatch because I watched it in like 2014, 15, roughly. So it's been like a long time. Somebody was like, "Oh, you're gonna start watching a lot of movies? Here's a classic," and then hit me with that. I was like,
that was not me that brought
no,
that
it
up,
was not.
But yeah, like I get it, but every time they were on the ground fighting, I was like, why didn't you just stay on the ground? Why do you need to fly?
Yeah.
Like it's just it ruined it for me. Then I watched Ava with Jessica Chastain, Colin Farrell, Common is in there, and so is John Malkovich.
Yeah, I was eyeing that one up on Netflix. I'm like,
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a kick-ass woman spy assassin type movie, but it doesn't have anything that really sticks out. Colin Farrell's really good in it. Jessica Chastain's pretty good in it. John Malkovich is good in it, but the story is lacking.
Yeah.
Then I watched a fucking bizarre movie called An Evening with Beverly Luff Lynn, which has Jermaine Clement, Craig Robinson, Aubrey Plaza, and Emile Hirsch, and Matt Berry. It's just
quite a cast.
Yeah, it's just a really weird comedy that is about this woman who's unhappy in her marriage, and she sees that her ex-boyfriend or lover or something is holding a magical event in a nearby hotel, so she runs away with this guy that held her husband up at gunpoint to steal money from him, and went to a hotel. It's just really weird. It's funny. It's done really like stylistically, so it's always meant to be a joke, and it's better than I expected for being me just being like, oh, this one's an hour and a half, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Then I watched Pottersville, which is with Michael Shannon, Judy Greer, Thomas Lennon, Ron Perlman, Christina Hendricks, and Ian McShane. It's about this guy who he walks in on his wife and finds out she's a furry, and she's not technically having an affair with the sheriff played by Ron Perlman, but he's also a fairy, and they're not having sex, but they're rubbing each other while in their furry costumes. And he makes a very big point to point that out. He's like, we weren't having sex. We were just rubbing each other. And then he gets drunk and, trying to get her back, dresses up as a gorilla, but he looks like Bigfoot because it's Michael Shannon and he's tall.
Yeah.
So then everyone thinks, just because he was doing dumb shit because he was drunk on moonshine, that Bigfoot is in their town. And it creates this boom. This famous Bigfoot hunter comes and finds him. It's a whole thing. It's a Christmas movie. It's a weird Christmas movie. It's an entertaining Christmas movie. But it is okay. It's
got it.
Yeah, it's okay. Then I watched 7500 or 7500, which is a movie about a pilot who his plane has hijackers trying to hijack him. He's able to lock them out of the cockpit, and it's just a whole moral struggle of, he knows hostages are being killed back there, but he can't do anything about it because if he does, more people will die. And it's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's really the only known name in there. Honestly, it's very intense and really strong movie. The ending is a little bit weak, but overall it's a strong movie. Then I watched Happiest Season, which is with Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis, Alison Brie, Aubrey Plaza again, Dan Levy, and it's about a lesbian couple who goes to visit one of their parents, but the one woman is not out to her parents, so they pretend that they're roommates, and shenanigans and sadness occur. It's a decent movie.
I feel like I've seen this. You said it was with Dan Levy, right?
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Yeah, I think I've seen a trailer for this or something.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, it's a solid Christmas movies. I feel like are rarely going to be amazing. Most of them are just like, oh, it's the holiday season. Let me watch this
Yeah.
feel good movie. There we go. Okay. And then I watched Where'd You Go, Bernadette with Kate Blanchett, Billy Crudup, Steve Zahn, Kristen Wiig, Lawrence Fishburne. A whole bunch of people are in there. Directed by Richard Linklater, and it's about this woman who kind of has like a mental breakdown and escapes to Antarctica. And this got ripped apart by critics a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just because it's like shortly after he did Boyhood, but I don't see why they ripped it apart. I mean, it's several years before he did after he did Boyhood, but
Yeah.
Richard Linklater's, I guess, got higher standards to his name than that. But I thought it was decent. You know, it's nothing that you're gonna go tell people to watch or anything, but it's a solid movie. I had no problems with it really. But yeah, those are all the movies I watched. So close. Only got 16 days left in the year.
Yeah.
And then I can watch only good movies
watch
again.
regular movies at your full will.
Exactly. But yeah, let's get into some news. I heard you have some news.
Yeah, there's kind of a huge bomb with Disney Plus here this week. It's kind of insane. I guess I could start off with last week we talked about Spider-Man 3 and all the people that are going to be that. It is now rumored that Willem Dafoe and Tom Hayden Church, yeah?
Thomas Hayden Church, yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church, yeah, that they're rumored to now maybe be possibly in as well, which is, it sounds like a lot, and it's wrapping my mind around some Justice League themes or, you know, but so there's talks of that. And with Disney Plus, they dropped two huge bombs. Their Star Wars and Marvel lineups. So with Marvel, they announced Hawkeye, Eternals. There's Spider-Man 3, obviously. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. They showed they showed a bunch of stuff and just what their catalog is going to be in the future. Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther 2, and then the list goes on. And with She-Hulk, there's Captain Marvel 2, Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. And
did you say that they're all going to be released on Disney TV or Disney Plus?
well, I would assume that most of them are going to be trying to hit for theaters eventually, but
I would hope so.
Yeah, but eventually all of these will be on. And they even announced a Fantastic Four film that's being thought about it. So there's a lot of that. I would recommend maybe looking up the article instead of me just randomly naming things, because I'm about to do that again with Star Wars as well. Obi-Wan, Mandalorian Season 3, Star Wars Lego Season Holiday thing, The Bad Batch, a prequel to Rogue One, which...
Wait, the Bad Batch, like the Western movie?
Star Wars The Bad Batch. I don't know if it's like
It's
involving...
probably...
I'm not like the biggest Star Wars fan. I know my buddy Josh is really into Star Wars, so he would for sure know more than me. But that's a title there. A sequel or a prequel to Rogue One, with Diego Luna's character. I'm not looking forward to that, honestly. No offense to Diego Luna, but Rogue One was awesome, and I don't need any future or past context past what we already have.
For real, like context sometimes ruins things.
The Obi-Wan series, and they announced with that they're going to have a new Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight, which fans are pretty actually kind of upset about and happy about, because apparently in the first movie there's like a talk between these two, like a dialogue between the two that says they haven't fought in so long. It was like, oh, I'm the master and now you're the whatever the fuck it was. And there's a new Taika Waititi movie coming out. And just that, there's a whole bunch of shit. Apparently, also, Rian Johnson might be doing a trilogy, which I don't know how Disney's going to let. I mean, I'm personally for it.
Me too. The fans who think that he ruined Star Wars are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
He tried to do something different with Star Wars, and what we got because of all their bitching was a very extremely terrible softball of a finale for the Skywalker saga, and it's all their fault. I do partially. No, I don't blame him. I was going to say I blame him for Finn kind of becoming a lesser character, but no, he set up Finn and that one character as well to have bigger parts in 3, but then they backtracked on that because of the negative reaction, and 3 was just terrible.
There's a lot of fingers that could be pointing in many different directions, but it all comes down to Disney rushed the trilogy too fast, didn't have a game plan, so everybody was just on their toes, thinking of what they could, and everybody blamed Rian Johnson because the other guy whose name I can't freaking remember right now.
J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, J.J. Abrams obviously did a better job, at least, as in creating the whole thing. But, I mean, he did 1 and he did 3, so, I mean, yeah, of course he did.
1 was a super safe Star Wars movie, which I feel like they needed. 2 was adventurous. I feel like it failed a lot, but it also did a lot that was great. And I would have liked to see how they continued the story instead of just backtracking and doing some retconning and just trying to undo everything that he set up. It was just stupid.
Yeah, but I mean, besides that, moving back over to Marvel a little bit, Charlie Cox was announced that he's going to be returning as Daredevil for Spider-Man 3, which is phenomenal for me because he was amazing in the Netflix series, and I really hope, because Vincent D'Onofrio has been fighting to be Kingpin again this whole time since Netflix got like their shows canceled. Obviously, since Disney Plus bought out Marvel. So like that is amazing news, and I hope that John Bernthal and everybody can like return as their characters, because John Bernthal's obviously a movie actor. He can continue doing Punisher and all that.
Still waiting for Paul Giamatti.
And Tobey Maguire, apparently.
Well, I saw that he was seen going into a costume fitting.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Granted, that doesn't mean anything. That just means that, they're trying. They could just be trying to persuade him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I also saw a campaign. It's mostly a joke, but they have Jake Johnson reprise his role as Peter Parker, or Peter B. Parker.
Yeah.
Who he was the voice of the adult Peter Parker in Spider-Verse, and honestly, I'm for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Mulaney as Spider-Pig should.
I mean, that whole cast might as well just come on.
Yeah, really.
But that's most of the news that I have there. I'm not going to continue more, otherwise I'll exceed the fucking speed limit and get arrested. But I'm sure there's news that I missed, but there was just a lot of Disney was holding an umbrella, and all the other news was kind of just bouncing off this week. So
yeah.
So I guess we can move on.
Yeah, let's get into Light of My Life.
I'm the only girl of my species. I'm the only one I ever saw.
He's young.
Yeah, he was just newborn when it happened.
Do I have the plague?
No, you don't have the plague. But just because people aren't getting sick anymore doesn't mean that the world is right again.
When will it be right again?
When it's balanced. And you know what? I kind of like it, just you and me.
Yeah, me too.
Can I help you, sir?
And who are we here?
This is my son.
Company boy.
Not looking for any more company, sir.
Yeah, I bet.
Parent and child journey through the outskirts of a society a decade after a pandemic has wiped out half the world's population. As the father struggles to protect his child, their bond and the character of humanity is tested. It is written and directed by Casey Affleck, starring Anna Piniowski, Casey Affleck, Tom Bauer, Elizabeth Moss, Timothy Weber, a whole bunch of lower tier actors. Not that they're bad, just most people would not know their names.
I was just saying, and also most most of the cast is literally just like two people for the most part. So
Yeah, they're all very small parts in comparison to
Yeah.
Casey Affleck and Anna Peniowski. But the reason I wanted us to watch this movie, I really like movies like this. My newest film is kind of like this, a little bit, not as hopeful, but it's definitely like this. It has a strong The Road vibes.
yeah.
It's a post-apocalyptic movie, but also not really, because there is still a semblance of society in it, which I found pretty refreshing.
Yeah, for sure. Instead of just like everybody hunting for food and everything, it was just like there is a society in the whole world that there is, but nobody's really trusted because girls really don't exist. And I guess we can obviously talk about that here in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was refreshing to see like an actual world that is there, but they're afraid to go into it because it's not actually formed the way we have our society today.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how a actual apocalypse would happen. So the way this world came about is a plague came that only affected women. So the majority, if not all of the population of women had died, with the exception of a few, obviously, including Anna Peniowski's character, who is
Rag.
Casey Affleck's daughter. Her name is Rag, short for Raggedy Ann. And it really does a good job at explaining why they've kind of secluded themselves from society, or at least why he's trying to keep her away from society. Because in a world without women, unfortunately, terrible things would probably happen to the closest thing to a woman in a 200-mile radius.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really delicate examination of a father-daughter relationship, and where they literally have no one else to rely on. There's no aunt, there's no mom, there's not even like a grandparent or uncle. Like, everyone is dead. Everyone that they know is dead. And
Yep.
I thought that it was very smart to open the scene with a 12-minute bedtime story.
Yeah.
Which, it might not sound like a good idea if you pitch it, but like, the story's compelling enough, the reaction's compelling enough, the interaction between the two is compelling enough, where I fucking love that opening scene personally.
Well, it also sets up the whole thing for like how the actual world is for them.
Yeah.
It's talking about basically it's Noah's Ark, but what's his name?
Casey Affleck?
Oh yeah, that's right. They never actually named this, which is another thing that I love. They never actually named a father. It was always just dad.
Yeah.
But he's basically talking about Noah's Ark and how they had to have two of each species, and and then she's like, well, there's not really two of each species, is there? And then obviously the genders, but it formed a whole nice talk and conversation and story about how basically the world is, and how like kind of this species itself doesn't actually have two, or at least most of them died out. So it was really cool to open up to that. And just just get the connection between the two characters, obviously.
Yeah.
And open that up.
Definitely. And it's a really charming story too, because like it really built their relationship well, because she kept like interrupting him and telling him not to do things, or telling him like, oh, you've already told me this story, oh, this story's not original, and he reacted in the way every dad would. He was like, if you let me finish, I'll get to it.
Or yeah, that's totally a story for another time, but I'm gonna keep going now.
Yeah, and I thought it really introduced them in a very clean, organized way, and even though it's 12 minutes, it goes by extremely fast, and kind of like you said, it builds the whole world in just that story, and another thing that I loved about this, and I like all of his music, but the soundtrack for it was incredible. It's the composer is what's his name? Daniel Hart. He did movies like Comet, A Ghost Story, Ain't
the
Them
lovely
Bodies Saints. Yeah, he's done a lot of really great compositions and scores, and it just, the hopeful tone of the score never really made you afraid. Really, like it made the world feel normal, unlike other movies like this where everything's just so bleak. And I love The Road, but it is an extremely bleak movie, whereas this, with the title Light of My Life, definitely has some lighter tones and is more human and hopeful than a lot of its other counterparts.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, this would make it like a good companion piece to The Road. I would love to like go back to back with those two movies.
Definitely.
I would love to also see other movies besides The Road in this one. Like, what other movies are there technically?
Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of apocalypse movies, but none are really just like two people.
Yeah, just traveling along.
There is one that is not an apocalyptic movie, but it's about a father and daughter who are kind of like nomads. It's called Leave No Trace. Came out 2 years ago with Thomas and Mackenzie from Jojo Rabbit and Ben Foster. That's slightly similar to it, but without the apocalyptic aspect to it. I feel like a lot of other apocalypse movies are either zombie movies or
True,
like disaster movies.
But yeah, there was another point in the beginning of the movie where they're kind of like sharing another story. It's the girl talking about how she's reading this book, and she's like talking about morals and
Ethics,
yes. And it kind of that was like a major thing throughout the rest of the movie, because basically they're just talking about this book, but in reality it's more they're talking about Dad, Casey Affleck's character, the rest of the film, because they're talking about how in the book, or the character in the book, how he lies all the time, and how he's just not a really good person because he lies all the time, except for the one that he loves or something like that. And then he doesn't lie to them. He doesn't lie, or like doesn't like do wrong, and it kind of like delivers what Dad is like the rest of the movie, but I would assume obviously for different reasons compared to the book and and obviously Dad. But like that early on was like, oh well, holy crap, I'm going to remember that.
And I honestly didn't even pick up on that until you started saying it. Also kind of goes with him not carrying any weapons. It's never really brought up until they go to this house that used to be his grandparents' house. Now there's 3 other men there. But they're good guys, more or less, and the one of them asks if he has a weapon, and he says no. So he's obviously like a pacifist, or like just doesn't want his daughter to be raised around weapons, and will always go for peace if he can. Even when he hijacks a car, he just tells the guy, "Hey, I'm taking your car. You'll be fine, but I'm taking your car." Doesn't even threaten him. He just says, "I'm taking your car."
He's just like, I'm taking your car. You're a nice guy, and this is right, but I can't tell you why." But
and it like he's just peaceful the entire time. He doesn't pick fights. He's always it always comes down to flight over fight, which when you have a kid is the correct response. Otherwise, you might die. And then in the one of the final scenes when there's a home invasion and Rag gets out, but he doesn't. He fights for his life. Like it's the whole morals versus ethics thing, where like his morals are not to fight, but his ethics are if he is being attacked, he will fight. If his kid is being attacked, he will fight. And I didn't make that connection until you brought that up. And,
well, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Look at Glenn with the big brain. But which brings me to my next point. The fight scenes in this are so brutal without having those obnoxious Hollywood fight sounds.
Yeah.
And I fucking loved it. Like it's the most realistic fight sounds I've ever heard, where it's not like the wind going and whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. It's just like,
It's like also like just straight up those noises, and then
no music.
Yes, no music. It's just men grunting. They're not like learning kung fu and kicking each other in the face.
It's a
right?
very sloppy fight. Like, you don't.
Yeah, it's very sloppy. Kind of not even wrestling. I wouldn't even say that, but like getting close. It's all very close quarters, and they're just
Grappling.
beating the shit out of each other. One's got a hammer. Another one's just using his head as just a sponge on the floor, pretty much, and just
Yeah, and it was just. It just how like showing how a pacifist would fight when he's forced to. Very realistic and brutal, because honestly, like, the people who don't like fighting, when they're forced to fight, it's fucking prison rules. I don't like fighting. I think even fighting for sport's kind of dumb, except for in hockey. For some reason, I love it in hockey.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because the respect between it, but like boxing and UFC, I have respect for the sports, but the whole shit talking leading up to it really turns me off to it. Whereas in hockey, there's just like, hey, you want to fight? Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go for it.
yeah, well, you did this thing, and now you need to pay for it.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. But it's, just how a pacifist would fight, and how it's just how messy the whole fight was. You lost track of who was who many times, and only at the last moment realized who was who. And I just thought it was incredibly, for lack of a better word, brave to shoot fight sequences that messy, so to speak, because it worked. It simply just worked.
Yeah.
For the character, for the movie, it just fit in perfectly.
And even at the end of the fight scene, obviously they had to get a rag out of the house before the men kind of took over and got a hold of her. So they got her out of there, and then when you think she went back to like the safe house that they have set up for like when this red alert, this thing happens, so they're usually prepared for it. They actually have her come back and use a gun that Tom, one of the people living at the grandparents' house at the time, came back with a shotgun that he had, and shot the man who was fighting, who was lastly fighting Dad, and but blew that sumbitch away.
Yeah, and there's no real questions after watching this. Like, it kind of answers all the questions you have, which is rare for a movie. And admittedly, a lot of that is because of how simple the plot is and everything, which is completely fine. But, to be, for lack of a better word, as slow moving as it is, but being compelling and building this world that isn't like a cliche apocalypse. It's an apocalypse that still has markets and governments and society, just still has scientists working on cures and growing women or female babies in labs.
Yep.
It just through dialogue, it builds this very interesting world that is just, it's rare for a movie to do that, especially a low budget movie like this.
Yeah, it really is. And just another thing with this movie is just like, I know there's a lot of like shit that's went down with Casey Affleck in the past and stuff like that, personal things out in real life. But I mean, he is a terrific actor, and he directed and wrote this movie. I mean, he's a very talented human being, and it really shows in this movie for sure as well.
I will say this: I have like looked at his scandal a little bit, and I would implore people to do the same. If there is anyone who did something bad and knows they fucked up and is trying to better themselves after fucking up, it's him. I haven't met him, so I don't know if that's like just his public persona or whatever. He could be an asshole behind the scenes, but I mean, there's still directors who want to work with him on a regular basis, especially after that. And is that moral or ethics in the grand scheme of things? I don't know. I'm not one to say. But out of everyone who was brought up in 2017 and rightfully brought up, I feel like he's doing the most to try to change who he is. Yeah. Which is honestly the best you can do. And like, what he did was terrible. For those of you who aren't aware of what he did, shooting that I'm Still Here documentary with Joaquin Phoenix, where everyone thought Joaquin Phoenix was going to become a rapper. He directed that. And while shooting that, he got drunk one night and got into bed with a female producer and was trying to have sex with her, and nothing happened. He just tried to pressure her into having sex. There was no, assault, just more harassment than anything. Very unprofessional either way. But just wanted to make that distinction. And obviously that's horrible. He tried to use his power and standing to do that. He definitely should have faced repercussions for that. But he's not like a Harvey Weinstein. I'm trying to say this without making it sound like I'm condoning or forgiving what he did. But he seems like he's trying to make right from it.
Yeah.
In the long run. And, you can't go on living life without acknowledging that people can change. That doesn't mean you have to forgive them. I'm not saying people should be a fan of him if what he did is too much for them to be a fan of him. But you can acknowledge change when it happens.
Yeah.
I did not expect to be talking about that.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to go all out, but I'm glad you
it's
did.
just like Casey Affleck. I've been a fan of since Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah.
And the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford came out in the same month. And he's phenomenal in both of them. So I've been a fan of his since then. And I obviously was appalled when I found out everything he did. But I recognize change and remorse when it happens. Granted, I could be being fooled, and that's on me if I am being fooled by him. But I think it's important to acknowledge change in someone when it happens. But that's just me. If you don't want to, that's completely by you. It's your right to not forgive people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's bedrooms with beds.
I know.
Can we stay?
I don't think it's a safe place to be.
Who is it? They're looking for me because I'm a girl.
What do you want?
We come in, we're very cold. I've got a little child here.
Seems to me you've been at this a long time. I wonder what the toll is.
You just gotta keep her close. What if someone hurt you?
I'll always be with you. Even if someone tied me up and stabbed me and knocked me down and put me in a block of ice and dropped me in the bottom of the ocean. Then I'll get up and I'll get free. And I'll come find you. And I'll keep you and your dad.
But yeah, I don't really have much to say. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
So should we just get into the judgment?
I think we probably should.
Yeah. So I kind of lied last week when I said I wasn't sure if it was going to be a Shelf Boy or not. I knew then it was going to be a Shelf Boy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to build
You
some
just wanted
suspense.
me to watch it.
I did want you to watch it and also not let people know that I was going to say it was a Shelf Boy already. But yeah, I love this movie. It is definitely my kind of movie. I mean, my to be a little self-sufficient here, self plug here, shameless self plug. My next movie is similar to this in a way, as far as like two characters bonding in a post-apocalyptic world,
Road type style thing.
road type style, which I wrote 10 years ago after I saw The Road, so it makes sense. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a Shelf Boy.
Not even gonna beat around the bush. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic movie. We really didn't talk about Anna Panowski's performance. She was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I kind of regret not talking about that.
Yeah.
now.
So yeah, big regret, but for sure she was amazing, and just their chemistry together was fantastic.
Yeah.
The world building around it was fantastic. Surprise, Elizabeth Moss was in there. I wish
She was great
in there
in the few
more,
scenes
but
she's
I
in. Yeah.
understood. And it's overall just a beautiful movie, and I would love to companion piece watch this with The Road for sure.
Absolute, to steal your line.
Absolute.
Of saying absolute. So, Light of My Life makes it onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Klaus. Ooh!
Oh, you got me there.
Threw
I
a
was not
curveball
prepared.
there. That brings us to our plugs for next week. Since it was my week to choose, I'm going to go about my plug first. I recently remembered. I didn't even watch this. I just remembered a part from this short film that I'm going to be plugging. And it's so fucking funny that I just wanted everyone to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a short film by the YouTube channel Britannic, and it is their final project for their film class in NYU, which is fucking bananas. Like, it's shot on film and everything. At least I think it's shot on film, but it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Very stupid. If I'm honest, the first 8 or 9 minutes is better than the last 6 or 7 minutes. But there's enough in that first 8 or 9 minutes that's worth the watch. And it is called Eagles Are Turning People into Horses.
Everybody hates you.
I hate you.
He hates you so
Did you
much.
take my ginger ale?
Did you do it?
Did you take my ginger ale?
Did you take it, Hannah? We know you did.
Oh, yeah, because I have a lot of things. No, I don't, Hannah. I've got ginger ale. I had ginger ale, and then you drank it.
You like to walk around and you steal a drink and then you go, this is a tasty drink. I do enjoy this. Ha ha ha. Oh, wait, no, that's not how you sound.
Did you take my ginger ale?
How did you look at me like this when you laugh like that and you take his ginger ale and you go around marching from state to state in your little trotty car?
Did you take my ginger ale? Hannah!
You sit in your fucking tower and you look down on those beverages which aren't yours and you say, I will have that. Thank you muchly.
Nobody else drinks it.
As they do.
As they do. And that is on the YouTube channel Britannic.
All right, well, there it is.
Yeah.
So with my plug that I actually was talking about earlier with the movies that I had to watch, mine's going to be the movie Canvas, which is only like 9 or so minutes. And it's basically just a short film about a black family and the grandmother, you know, maybe I can't say too much. It's even saying something might possibly be a huge spoiler because it's only 9 minutes, but it's a really nice, heartfelt little short film, and it's amazing. It's like Pixar, except for, not ruled by completely over Disney. And it's on Netflix, so I know most of you son bitches have that. Mm-hmm. So just go watch Canvas. It just came out December 11th.
Ooh. Cool. So those are our plugs for this week. That brings us to our assignment for next week. Glenn Jamin Button Onius Cotunius III. Don't know what that was, but that's what happened. What is your pick for us to watch next week?
Are you ready to hate my life? Because I know.
Oh, God.
Because you could watch 2 movies in the time that this movie is, its length. So you're gonna...
I don't know if you know this, but I'm trying to get to a movie a day, and I'm doing that by watching mediocre 90-minute movies.
I had no idea.
I gotta watch mediocre 90-minute movies. Come on.
Well, this one is going to be... This was something that I came across on Netflix, and there's a song in it that it's come up a lot in movies just since this came out. And I actually never even knew it came from that. And you know what? I'm still not even going to say what it is because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But it's been a long day, okay? Mm-hmm. And this is going to be Fiddler on the Roof.
A fiddler on the roof. If I were a rich man, yabba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dum. All day long I biddy-biddy-bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Yabba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dum.
You're asking me to marry you.
Yes, I am.
Bring me a ring, for I'm longing to be the envy of all I see. For Papa, make him a scholar. For Mama, make him rich as a king.
When shall we make the wedding?
Oh, thank you, Papa.
What else could I do?
Thank you, Papa. You won't be sorry. You won't be sorry.
I won't be sorry. I'm sorry already.
Hey. I'm a little bit excited.
Okay, well that's good. It's rated G. It was made in 1971, and it's going to be on Netflix. Fiddler on
3 hours. Now I'm not excited.
Yeah, 3 hours. I was going to pick this movie regardless, and then I saw what it was. I'm like, ugh. I was going to pick it regardless. Fiddler on the Roof is a pre-revolutionary Russia. In pre-revolutionary Russia, a Jewish peasant contends with marrying off 3 of his daughters while growing anti-Semitic sentiment threatens his village. It is directed by Norman Jewison, written by Shalom Aleichem.
I think it's Elchem.
Aleichem.
I don't know.
Adapted
I
from
think
the
they do say it
stories
that way.
as Shalom Aleichem and Arnold Pearl. The stars are Topol, Norma Crane, Leonard Frey, and I honestly don't know anybody else, so I'm going to be ignorant and not name anybody else. But it's going to be on Netflix. If I could remember this song, it would be amazing if I could, because it's super freaking
diddle
catchy.
diddle or something like that.
Yeah, which didn't do it justice, but
yeah, obviously this film or this musical was a huge part of my growing up. I believe both, if not both of my uncles were in this back in the day before I was born. So, but because of that, my mom and dad were obsessed with the soundtrack. So I know that they sang a lot. I feel like the song Matchmaker's in it. I could be wrong. Or the Matchmaker. I think that's in it. I could be wrong, but yeah. I'm excited. I've been wanting to watch this, just haven't gotten around to it.
yeah, this is one that I've seen everywhere on the internet between the songs. Other movies have adapted the song into their own lyrics and stuff like that, but I've seen memes of the guy just laughing and stuff like that. And so this is one that I've been wanting to stumble upon, and yeah, we have the platform to do that. So sorry, you're going to have to use 3 hours of your time instead of, 2 movies to make 3 hours. It's going to be just one. You silly goose.
I'm on track to have 370 movies, so
Heck yeah, brother.
I could spend one day watching one movie.
One whole day to watch this.
So Fiddler on the Roof is our pick for next week. That is on Netflix. As always, you can check out our website at KeystoneFilmReview.com. Instagram, we are Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. We will start putting videos on there again eventually. Just kind of hard with the pandemic. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I am Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we go, hey, diddle, 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 or something like that.
That's exactly how we're going to do it.
Yep. Goodbye,
I
everybody.
promise you we're not drunk. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.